October 17th, 1944, Bavarian Alps, near Schönau am Königssee. Snow slashes sideways across the tree line as First Lieutenant Daniel Krüger trudges through the icy fog, his breath crystallizing in the air like drifting shards of glass. Every step sinks deep 6, maybe 7 inches into the untouched white blanket covering the forest floor. The world is silent, too silent. No artillery in the distance, no engines, no human presence, just wind and the slow groan of bending pines. A kind of silence that presses against your ears until it becomes its own sound. Then thud, Krüger stops. Not an enemy step, not an avalanche, something mechanical, old, buried. Behind him, Sergeant Thomas Red Ellery raises a gloved hand. Hold, Danny hears something. The men of the 3rd Infantry Division know better than to question Krüger's instincts. The German-American officer grew up on these mountains before emigrating to the United States at age 10. He knew the forests, the rock formations, even the way sound travelled through these valleys. His senses were the best compass the unit had. Krüger crouches, brushing aside fresh snow. Beneath it, the ground feels warm. Warm like a machine recently shut down. Warm like breath. A low hum vibrates upward through the earth. Red steps forward. What is that? A generator. Krüger shakes his head. No German outpost would bury a generator in the middle of nowhere. He wipes away more snow, revealing something impossible. A smooth metallic surface hidden beneath moss and frost. No rust, no seams, no rivets. Just a curved, polished plate of metal that looks nothing like Wehrmacht engineering. Private Alvarez whispers, "Sir, what are we standing on?" Before Krüger can answer, another sound erupts, this time deeper. Clank, clank, clank. Metal shifting under pressure. Stone grinding against stone, like doors opening, massive ones. Krüger stands up sharply, form perimeter. The squad spreads out, rifles raised. And that's when the forest floor begins to move. A perfect circular section of earth, about 30 feet wide, shifts downward. Snow sliding off in cascading waves. Steam pours out from the widening gap, warm enough to melt snow instantly. The pine branches overhead sway violently as the ground retracts, revealing a descending passageway illuminated by cold blue light. Alvarez steps back, eyes wide. What kind of bunker has automatic doors? Krüger approaches slowly, boots crunching over melting snow. Inside the opening, the walls are smooth concrete but not typical German forms. No wooden supports, no hammer marks, no air vents shaped like anything from 1944. Instead, the tunnel slopes down at a near-perfect angle, lined with recessed metal panels, each glowing faintly with rectangular blue indicators. Red passes his fingers along one of the panels. This isn't army, not SS, not Luftwaffe. Hell, I don't even think this is human for 1944. Krüger kneels, brushing frost from a black surface beside the entrance. Symbols emerge, 3 interlocking circles, surrounded by lines forming a precise geometric pattern. Beneath them, 5 runes, carved with laser-straight edges. Not chiseled, not stamped, burned. This is Ahnenerbe, Krüger mutters, stomach tightening, but different, much more advanced. A voice crackles, suddenly mechanical, distorted, echoing from deep inside the bunker. Eingang aktiviert. Zugriffscode erwartet. Entrance activated. Awaiting authentication code. The men freeze, Red whispers. It's talking to us. Krüger steps back. This is not a bunker, it's a facility. The blue lights flicker, the hum deepens, and then the voice returns colder, heavier. Unbefugter Zugriff erkannt. Protokoll 0 eingeleitet. Unauthorized access detected. Initiating Protocol 0. The tunnel lights shift violently, blue, red. A tremor shakes the earth beneath them, rising like a heartbeat. Snow vibrates, pine needles rain down. Something deep inside the bunker awakens gears, pistons, machines unlike anything designed for wartime Bavaria. Fall back now, Krüger shouts. The soldiers scramble away just as a beam of red light sweeps through the tunnel like a scanning sensor. The massive circular doors begin sliding shut with terrifying speed, locking the mountain back into place. But before they close entirely, Krüger glimpses something inside. A deeper chamber, a door sealed with the Black Sun emblem, the most secret symbol of Himmler's occult division, and cables thick as a man's arm, snaking into the floor as if feeding power into something enormous. The doors slam shut. Boom! Snow falls quietly again. The forest returns to silence. Red exhales shakily. Danny, what did we just find? Kruger stares at the sealed entrance, heart hammering. He feels the fading vibrations under his boots. This place, he whispers, was never meant to be part of this war. Behind him, the wind howls like something alive. The bunker sleeps again, but not peacefully. Never peacefully. The wind hasn't stopped clawing at the trees when Major Henry Calloway arrives at the clearing an hour later, wrapped in a thick overcoat, pipe clenched between his teeth, and impatience etched across his face. He stomps through the snow toward Kruger, boots sinking deep into the soft white crust. You're telling me the ground opened up, Calloway says, his voice sharp. Opened, by itself. Kruger nods once. Sir, there's something below us. A structure. Automated. Red gestures at the melted ring of earth. Whole damn forest turned into a garage door. Calloway crouches and touches the exposed metal rim. The surface is still warm. That's not Wehrmacht. That's not even experimental Luftwaffe. He glances at Kruger. You sure this wasn't some hallucination from the cold? The mountain answers for them. Thud. A deep, slow pulse vibrates beneath the snow again. Weak, but real, like breathing. Calloway jerks his hand away. Jesus. Kruger exhales. It's alive, sir, not a base, a system. The major straightens, brushing snow from his coat. I'm calling battalion. Whatever the hell this is, Schaeff will want it intact. But before he can reach for the radio on his belt, a new tremor runs through the ground, gentler this time, accompanied by a faint hiss, like pressure releasing deep underground. Then a thin line of steam rises from the forest floor, exactly where the entrance had sealed shut. Red swears under his breath. It's waking up again. Calloway's eyes narrow. It reopens. Not yet, Kruger says quietly. It's cycling, like a machine running diagnostics. The major lowers his voice. Lieutenant, what exactly did you see down there? Kruger stares at the circle of snowless earth, replaying the image burned into his mind, the glowing panels, the red scanning beam, the sealed steel door bearing the black sun. A facility using technology far ahead of 1940s, he replies, and symbols linked to the darkest branch of Himmler's Ahnenerbe. Calloway's jaw tightens. That occult nonsense, you're telling me they actually built something? Kruger's eyes remain fixed on the ground. No, sir, I'm telling you they buried something. A gust of wind blasts across the clearing, pulling at their coats. The pine branches rattle, dropping clumps of snow onto the metal plate below. Then suddenly the clearing lights up with a dim, pulsing red glow. Back Red yells. The snow trembles, the metal beneath shifts, and with a slow, grinding rumble that echoes through the forest, the circular hatch begins to rise, not open downward this time, but elevate like a platform emerging from the earth. Calloway stumbles back. What in God's name? The hatch lifts 3 feet, steam rushing out around its edges, revealing the tunnel once more. But this time, the lights inside are steady, red, unyielding, waiting. A metallic voice spills out, clearer than before. Authentifizierung erforderlich. Sicherheitsstufe. Schwarz. Authentication required. Security level black. The soldiers exchange nervous glances. Calloway grips his sidearm. All right, we go in. Kruger turns. Sir, with respect, this place attempted to seal itself with us inside. It initiated something called Protocol Zero. We don't know what that means. Calloway taps his pipe against his boot, snowflakes scattering. It means, he says firmly, that whatever the Germans wanted to hide here is important enough for Eisenhower to lose sleep over. He motions toward the open tunnel. Lieutenant Sergeant Alvarez take point. Kruger swallows hard, checks his M1 and steps toward the glowing red passage. The warm air hits him like a furnace blast, thick with the scent of metal and oil. As he approaches the entrance, he notices something he didn't see before. Runes, freshly illuminated, trace along the tunnel walls, shifting patterns that pulse in time with the humming machinery. The symbols change subtly, rearranging themselves like a coded sequence reacting to their presence. Sir, Kruger calls back. The walls are moving. Red glares at them. Runes shouldn't move. The voice returns deeper now, almost human. Benutzer unbekannt. Zugang verweigert. User unknown. Access denied. Then the red lights flicker, dimming for a moment. Kruger steps inside, boots echoing on the smooth concrete floor. He feels watched. A low whirring noise like gears aligning echoes from deeper within the mountain. The hum grows louder, vibrating through his bones. Alvarez whispers, "Feels like the place is thinking." Calloway enters behind them. "Move, stay sharp." The squad advances deeper, rifles raised, eyes scanning the shifting shadows. The walls narrow slightly, then widen into a large chamber Kruger didn't see earlier, its floor marked with concentric circles, forming a pattern identical to the one on the outer hatch. In the center stands the metal obelisk, black and polished, cables feeding into its base. Kruger approaches slowly. The obelisk hums, then lights. A narrow slit opens across its surface, like an eye coming to life. A beam of red light sweeps across the room. It stops on Kruger. Then, click. The obelisk speaks. Biometrische Übereinstimmung teilweise erkannt. Erweiterten Zugang prüfen. Partial biometric match detected. Evaluating extended access. Kruger's blood runs cold. Partial match, Red whispers. With who? Kruger stares at the glowing obelisk, the beam scanning him again. He suddenly feels very far from his squad, from his uniform, from the war above. Because somewhere deep in this mountain, somewhere behind these impossible halls, something recognizes him. And that should not be possible. The chamber vibrates with a low mechanical rumble as the red beam scans Kruger a second time, slow and deliberate, like an intelligent eye analyzing prey. The obelisk's surface ripples with shifting symbols that glow and dim in patterns too organized to be random, too advanced to belong to 1944. Kruger feels the hairs on his arms rise under the heat of the scanning light. Behind him, Red tightens his grip around his rifle, whispering, "Danny, tell me this thing doesn't know who you are." But the obelisk speaks again, its voice metallic and unnervingly calm. Biometrische Lückenschließen. Verification läuft. Herkunftscode erforderlich. Verification in progress. Origin code required. Origin. The word stabs into Kruger's mind. His father's accent, his mother's stories about Bavaria, the place he left as a child. None of it should matter here, in a war, in a bunker built by men trying to destroy the world, and yet the machine reacts to him, only him. He steps closer, despite himself. The floor markings pulse faintly beneath his boots, each ring lighting up in sequence toward the obelisk, as if guiding him. Calloway barks, "Lieutenant, stay where you are," but his voice wavers with fear. He's trying to hide. Alvarez mutters a quick prayer in Spanish, while sweat forms along his brow, despite the warm air. The entire room hums with energy, like a generator charging up. Kruger's heart pounds. He takes one more step. The obelisk responds instantly. A panel peels open on its front face without any hinge or visible seam, revealing a recessed hand-shaped indentation, glowing with cold white light. The voice returns, "Handfläche platzieren, Zugang prüfen, place palm, access testing." Calloway curses loudly. "Absolutely not. Nobody touches that thing." But the obelisk shifts tone, the lights flaring brighter as it emits a deeper command. Herkunftsberechtigung ausstehend. Origin authorization pending. The machine is waiting for him, and only him. Kruger feels something pulling him not physically, but instinctively, like a whisper curling behind the ribs, urging him forward. He raises a trembling hand toward the glowing indentation. Red steps forward quickly, grabbing his arm. "Danny, don't. You don't know what it's tied to." Kruger swallows hard. "I think it knows my family, my name." Calloway's eyes widen. "Your family, Lieutenant. You'd better explain." He never finishes. The obelisk releases a burst of static, the lights around the room flickering violently. The walls contract slightly, as if the chamber itself takes a breath. A second voice echoes from somewhere deeper in the mountain, older, distorted, layered with static and something that sounds almost organic. "Zugang erforderlich, Blutlinie bestätigen." Bloodline confirmation required. The floor trembles, dust falls from the ceiling. The lights flash red once, twice, then stabilize. Calloway shouts orders, weapons up, "Keep distance from that thing." but the soldiers' rifles look pathetically primitive compared to the massive, humming monolith towering over them. Kruger steps back, chest tightening, bloodline, that word again, the Ahnenerbe, Himmler's obsession with ancestry, the archives he had read before the war projects that mixed mysticism, engineering, and genetic theories. He feels sick, Red mutters. What the hell were the Nazis trying to build in this mountain? And why does it think you belong to it? The obelisk suddenly emits a piercing tone. The recessed panel closes, the red beam stops. Every light in the chamber goes dark for a heartbeat. In the pitch-black silence, something massive moves beyond the far wall. Not gears, not pistons. Something heavier, something alive. Then the lights snap back on white this time, harsh and cold. The obelisk shifts, its entire surface rearranging into a new configuration, like flowing liquid metal. A vertical slit opens down its center, releasing a thin vertical beam that projects symbols directly into the air floating, revolving in a spiral pattern. The symbols transform into German text, Zugang verweigert, Nachkommen nicht vollständig, access denied, descendant not complete. Kruger stares at the floating words as they dissolve back into red symbols. He feels like the ground is falling away beneath him. Descendant, not complete. Red shakes his head slowly. Danny, it's talking about your blood, sir. Calloway steps forward, his voice lower, quieter, the tone of a man grappling with something that should not exist. Lieutenant, who were your parents? Kruger doesn't answer immediately. His throat tightens. His father, Wilhelm Kruger, an engineer who disappeared in 1936. His mother never spoke of him again. His father was Bavarian. His father left research papers behind. His father vanished the same year the Ahnenerbe expanded operations into Bavaria. The obelisk shifts again, the symbols aligning into a vertical line like a spine. Then it speaks one more time. Teilberechtigung erkannt. Primäre Tür wird geöffnet. Partial authorization detected. Primary door opening. A deafening mechanical crack erupts behind them. The wall at the far end of the chamber begins to split down the middle. Metal grinding, dust shaking loose as an impossibly thick barrier retracts into the floor. A corridor beyond it comes into view, long, dark, fortified, stretching deep into the mountain's heart. Kruger feels the cold air rush out from the newly revealed hall, not warm like the outer chamber, cold, ancient, waiting. Red's voice breaks the silence, Danny. Whatever is down that hallway, it wants you. And the bunker, awakened fully now, hums like a living thing, preparing for an arrival delayed by decades. The newly revealed corridor stretches before them like the throat of some slumbering machine, its walls coated in an alloy so smooth it reflects the soldiers' flashlight beams as distorted streaks of white. A cold mist seeps out from the darkness within, crawling across the floor as if alive, coiling around their boots like searching fingers. Kruger takes an involuntary step backward, his breath catching in his throat, heart hammering as the realization settles deeper. This place was not built for soldiers. It was built for something older, something structured around rules and purposes beyond the logic of any 1944 Nazi facility. Calloway, visibly shaken but forcing control, motions forward with a brief jerk of his hand. We proceed, slow and quiet. His voice trembles on the edges. Red flicks off the safety of his rifle, muttering through clenched teeth. This is insane. Places like this don't get built in a world with tractors and steam boilers. But they move anyway, because turning back feels more dangerous than stepping forward. As they enter the corridor, the hum of the outer chamber fades behind them, replaced by a deep rhythmic pulse echoing from somewhere far ahead. The sound feels biological, even though it is clearly mechanical, like a steady heartbeat wrapped in metal. The ceiling arches overhead, lined with interlocking rib-like structures that expand and contract with each pulse. Alvarez whispers, This hallway is breathing." Kruger shines his light on the ribs. They shift subtly in unison, the surface undulating like muscle tissue, reacting to their presence. The corridor lights up with dim white strips embedded into the walls, activating one by one beyond the reach of their flashlights, guiding them forward like a path laid out by an unseen architect. They walk for what feels like minutes, though time seems distorted in this place. The deeper they go, the colder the air becomes, almost painfully so, like the mountain itself is draining heat from their bodies. Calloway shivers violently. There must be a reactor down here, experimental, some kind of power source, but even he doesn't believe it. Reactors in 1944 were crude, bulky, unstable. Nothing about this corridor resembles human innovation. Then, abruptly, the corridor ends in a massive circular door, stretching floor to ceiling, at least 15 feet tall, thick enough to withstand an explosion. The center bears a symbol they hoped not to see again, the black sun, carved with such precise symmetry it looks machine-etched. Surrounding the symbol are 8 protruding metal rods arranged like clock hands, each pointing to different runic markings engraved into the doorframe. The rods begin to move the moment Kruger steps closer. Slowly, each one rotates with a grinding mechanical groan, aligning themselves to form a perfect geometric pattern that pulses with faint white light. Calloway grips Kruger's shoulder. "Lieutenant, it's reacting to you again." Kruger's throat tightens. The obelisk had recognized him. Now this door does too. The black sun symbol begins to glow, faint at first, then brighter, spreading outward across the rods and runes. Alvarez stumbles back, crossing himself repeatedly. This is wrong, this is all wrong. No human built this. The door emits a low, rising whine, then splits open down the middle with a chilling metallic scream that echoes through the corridor. As the two halves retract into the walls, a thick burst of cold air rolls out, air so old, so stale, it carries a metallic taste that coats their tongues. Beyond the now open entrance lies a vast chamber, larger than anything they have yet seen underground. It is circular, descending in levels like an inverted amphitheatre. Each tier lined with consoles, sleek metallic panels embedded with strange instruments, coils, and crystalline structures that glow faintly blue. At the very centre of the chamber stands a towering machine cylindrical, easily 20 feet tall, cables feeding into it from every direction. The surface is engraved with spiralling runes and geometric diagrams. Red stares at it, unable to speak at first. When he finally finds his voice, it is barely a whisper. What is that thing?" Kruger steps forward, mesmerized. The machine hums at a pitch just above human hearing, vibrating the air around it. Every few seconds, arcs of pale blue electricity ripple across its surface, jumping between crystalline nodes. Calloway squints, trying to discern the structure. Some kind of energy conduit, a generator, a transmitter. But none of these terms feel adequate. The machine looks less like a technological device and more like a fusion between engineering and ritual, a merging of precision and symbolism in ways that defy explanation. A console near the base flickers, projecting a series of runes into the air. Then the machine emits a calm, neutral tone, and a voice echoes throughout the chamber. "Primera Einheit aktiv, Nachkomme erkannt, Wartemodus verlassen, primary unit active, descendant detected, exiting standby mode." Kruger's blood runs ice cold. The machine's upper section rotates with a grinding metallic shift. Panels slide open around its midsection, revealing a hollow cylindrical cavity filled with swirling white mist. The air inside it crackles with static. The mist forms shapes, vague humanoid silhouettes, before dissolving again. Red whispers, "Danny, it's waking something up." The machine lowers its internal core into the mist chamber. The runes on the walls begin to glow brighter, pulsing in unison. The chamber itself seems to vibrate, dust falling like snow. The voice returns, now deeper, more urgent. "Bereit für Initiationssequenz. Blutlinienintegration erforderlich." Ready for initiation sequence. Bloodline integration required. Kruger stumbles back. Integration. What does that mean? The machine pulses, and a section of the floor before him lights up in a perfect circular outline. The voice speaks again, directly at him. "Tritt vor, Nachkomme, step forward, descendant, and the bunker waits for him, expectantly. As though it has been waiting since long before 1944, the circular outline on the floor glows brighter with every second, shifting from dim white to a cold blue that pulses in rhythm with the machine's internal core, as if the entire chamber is synchronizing itself to one single command: summon the descendant. Kruger remains frozen in place, feeling the weight of every pair of eyes behind him. Red, Alvarez, Calloway, and yet none of them can move either, as though the air has thickened into something viscous and commanding, something that turns every instinct into static. The machine emits a low, thrumming sound, each vibration crawling up their bones like a swarm of metal insects. Strange symbols flash across the cylindrical structure, rotating and reconfiguring themselves so quickly the human brain can barely register them. Some resemble runes, others mathematical diagrams, others nothing that belongs to any known language or era. Kruger whispers, "It's talking, the symbols, their instructions." Red shakes his head, voice trembling. "Instructions for what? For you." The voice fills the chamber without echo, precise and centered, as if spoken directly from the air surrounding them. Initiations, Sequenz Quartet. Blutlinien, Parameter unvollständig, Ergänzung erforderlich. Initiation sequence. Waiting, bloodline parameters incomplete, supplement required. Calloway swallows hard, trying to maintain authority even as fear fractures his voice. "Lieutenant, what exactly did your father work on before he disappeared?" Kruger clenches his jaw. "He was an engineer, Bavarian. He left research documents, strange ones, before my mother took me to the States." Alvarez's voice cracks. "This bunker, this machine. Your father built part of this, didn't he?" Before Kruger can answer, the chamber shifts. The floor quakes with a sudden violent jolt, sending dust cascading from the ceiling in thin clouds. The glowing circle expands outward, forming concentric rings of light that ripple across the surface, like waves of liquid metal. The machine's inner core rises again, steam bursting from vents as circuitry, embedded in the walls, activates in a massive cascade of electrical arcs. A deep metallic groan reverberates through the chamber. The machine is no longer waking, it is preparing for something that no Allied soldier was ever meant to witness. A smaller console beside the machine lights up, projecting a spinning diagram of DNA double helix, detailed, rotating in perfect holographic clarity, decades beyond 1944 science. Red gasps, "No, no, 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 they didn't have this. No one had this." The hologram pulses once, then splits into two identical helices, hovering in parallel. One stable, one flickering. The machine lowers its voice. Calm, absolute, Blutabgleich, erforderlich. Nachkomme, Tritt vor, blood alignment required. Descendant, step forward. Kruger feels the world tilt. Memories of his father's stern gaze. Strange sketches littering the workshop. Words muttered in German he didn't understand as a child. Words about purity, awakening, the cycle. His father had been involved in something, and the machine recognizes that involvement inside him. Calloway steps between Kruger and the glowing circle, raising a hand. "No, nobody steps into anything. We're sealing this place and calling it in." But the machine reacts violently to the obstruction. A blinding flash erupts from its core, sending a shockwave rippling through the chamber. The soldiers are thrown back, slamming into the cold metallic walls. Lights flicker. The runes pulse rapidly in an alarm-like sequence. The voice roars through the chamber, louder, layered, almost furious. Unterbrechung der Sequenz, Entfernung des Hindernisses, sequence interrupted, removing obstruction. A metallic screech erupts as panels in the upper wall slide open. From inside them, mechanical constructs extend jointed arms tipped with claw-like interfaces. Not weapons, but tools. Tools designed for precision. Tools designed for handling something delicate, like biological matter. The arms descend toward Calloway with terrifying speed. Red fires instinctively, bullets ricocheting off the machine arms with metallic pings. Sparks rain across the floor. Alvarez yells, fall back, but the chamber doors behind them slam shut with a deafening metallic impact. Sealing them in, the machine arms freeze mid-motion, recalibrating. Their tips shift shape, reconfiguring into needle-like extensions that glint under the pulsing blue light. Everything in the bunker is alive, adjusting, adapting. The voice speaks again, now with a cold finality that freezes their blood. Integration zwingend, Fortschritt nicht aufhaltbar. Integration mandatory. Progress cannot be halted. The floor panels behind Kruger open with a hydraulic hiss, revealing a descending platform lined with cables and restraints, made of a metal like black obsidian. The glowing circle shifts until it aligns perfectly with the platform. Red shouts, "Danny, don't move," but Kruger can feel something else, something whispering at the edge of consciousness, something that feels like memory, even though it isn't his. A voice inside the machine, faint, layered beneath the mechanical command. A human voice, a familiar one. "Daniel, komm zurück, Daniel, return." Kruger's blood runs cold. It's his father's voice. The machine pulses, its runes blazing with blinding white light. The voice, both mechanical and human together, delivers the final command. Tritt vor, der Kreis ist bereit. Step forward. The circle is ready, and the bunker, now fully alive, waits for Kruger to obey, just as it has waited since the day his father vanished into the Bavarian mountains. Kruger stands at the edge of the glowing circle, every instinct screaming to run, yet every breath dragging him closer, as though the machine has wrapped invisible wires around his spine, pulling him toward the center. His father's voice echoes again, faint, distorted by layers of static and machinery, but unmistakably real. "Daniel, zurück." The sound crawls under his skin, bypassing logic and hitting something deeper, older, a memory he shouldn't have but feels anyway. The whisper of a workshop door closing, the shadow of a man turning his back, the cold sting of abandonment wrapped in a father's urgency. Red grabs Kruger's arm with both hands. "Danny, listen to me. That's not your father. It's a recording, a trick." The chamber erupts with a deafening metallic roar as the machine responds, its core flaring to life in a burst of white light. Lightning-like arcs crackle across the ceiling, grounding themselves into the ribs of the corridor behind them. The voice thunders, "Nachkomme darf nicht zurückgehalten werden." The descendant cannot be restrained. The mechanical arms above shift into a new formation, twisting with horrifying precision as they align themselves over the glowing circle, waiting. The platform beneath the floor rattles, rising inch by inch, aligning perfectly with the circle's center, like two parts of a massive lock, preparing to complete each other. Calloway scrambles to his feet, face pale, voice cracking through the panic. "Lieutenant, I am ordering you not to step into that thing." But Kruger can barely hear him. The machine is inside his skull now, static and whispers circling through his mind like a storm. He sees flashes, his father standing beside a black monolith, engineers in SS coats, scribbling notes in panic, a man shouting that the cycle must be completed, a swirling chamber filled with mist and runes. Are these memories his father's, or something the machine is placing there? He doesn't know. Red shakes him harder. "Danny, snap out of it. Look at me." Kruger finally tears his eyes away from the machine and meets Red's terrified stare. Red's voice lowers, trembling, desperate. "You're my brother. Not by blood, but by every damn thing that matters. Don't let this mountain take you." Kruger's throat tightens. The machine pulses again, louder, faster. The voice deepens, merging the mechanical tone with the human whisper beneath it. "Der Kreis muss erfüllt werden. Blutlinie muss schließen." The circle must be completed. The bloodline must close. The bunker's temperature drops sharply. Frost races across the metallic walls, spreading outward from the giant machine. Their breath turns to thick fog. Alvarez coughs violently and stumbles backward, collapsing against a console, clutching his chest. The machine's arms swivel toward him instantly. Unzulässige biologische Signatur erkannt. Unauthorized biological signature detected. A beam of blue light shoots from the arm tip toward Alvarez, scanning him. Then, with terrifying indifference, The voice declares irrelevant. The arms turn away. Alvarez gasps in horror, realizing the machine doesn't even consider him worth registering. Only Kruger matters. Only the descendant. The glowing circle brightens until its light sears their eyes. Kruger shields his face, sweat chilling instantly on his skin. The machine's central core retracts upward, revealing a narrow aperture in the base, a slot shaped not like a weapon port or device, but something more disturbing, a cradle, a place meant to receive blood. Red sees it too. Danny, that thing wants your DNA. Calloway stares numbly, whispering to himself, my God, what did the Nazis awaken down here? Kruger exhales shakily. They didn't awaken it. His voice cracks. They built it, to awaken something else. The chamber shakes violently, as if the mountain itself is straining under the machinery's resurrection. Runes blaze along the walls in a synchronized torrent of brilliant white. The entire chamber becomes a vortex of sound and light, all converging around the glowing circle where Kruger stands wavering between duty and inevitability. The voice roars one final command: Tritine, die Einheit wartet. Step inside. The unit waits, and then in an instant, the machine goes silent. The lights freeze mid-pulse. The mist in the chamber holds still in the air like suspended smoke. Everything, every sound, every vibration locks into eerie silence. The chamber holds its breath. Red whispers, voice barely audible, eyes glued to the still active circle. Danny, it's waiting for you to finish it. Kruger feels his heartbeat resonate with the faint hum beneath the floor. He is standing on the final key of a machine built decades before he ever set foot here. A machine that knows his blood. A machine that speaks with his father's voice. A machine that should not exist. He steps forward. One foot crosses the glowing line, and the bunker exhales. Kruger's boot settles on the circle, and the entire chamber reacts, as if an immense lung inhales after decades without air. The floor vibrates with a deep, resonant thrum that travels up through his legs, into his spine, and straight into the center of his skull. Light floods the circle, rising like a column of white fire around him, lifting a whirlwind of frost and dust in a spiraling vortex. Red lunges forward with a shout, Danny, get out of there, but a shockwave erupts outward and slams the sergeant into the wall, knocking the rifle from his hands as sparks snap off the metal like lightning. Calloway is thrown to his knees. Alvarez collapses with his hands over his ears as the air splits with a rising metallic shriek that sounds impossibly alive. The machine's arms rotate in perfect synchrony and lower toward Kruger, but they do not touch him. They hover mere inches from his skin, tracing the outline of his form, mapping him with beams of white light. The voice echoes again, now layered with countless tones. Mechanical, human, something inhuman, all merging into a single command. Bloodlinie erkannt. Primer sequence beginnt. Bloodline recognized. Primary sequence beginning. Kruger can't breathe. His chest tightens as if the air around him has become liquid. His vision splits, doubling, then fracturing into shards of memory. Not his own, men in black uniforms chanting over blueprints. His father arguing with a bald officer whose eyes seem too cold for a human. A cavern filled with prototypes and failures. An argument about the cycle of return. The fear in his father's voice as he whispered to someone, "We are waking something we cannot control." Kruger gasps, his knees buckling, but invisible force holds him upright. Red, dizzy, bloody-lipped, crawls forward, dragging himself inch by inch toward the edge of the circle. Danny, hold on, I'm coming. The machine's core flares violently. A shockwave picks Red up like a rag doll and hurls him across the floor. He crashes into a console that explodes in a shower of sparks. The machine stops holding back. The room dims to a near blackness, except for 3 sources of light, the runes blazing in the walls, the white beam around Kruger, and the cylinder at the machine's center, where the mist condenses into a solid form. A silhouette, broad-shouldered, human-like, but wrong in proportions, too tall, too symmetrical, too deliberate. The form steps forward, its outline flickering between solid and translucent, like a projection fighting with its own existence. The The machine announces it with cold reverence. Primär Einheit wird übertragen. Primary unit transferring. The silhouette steps closer, and the light becomes detail, a figure wearing a long dark coat, face obscured by swirling mist, except for two eyes glowing with a faint, unnatural white. Kruger's heart stops. He knows that shape. He knows those eyes. The figure speaks, but the voice is glitching, fractured, as if dragged from a memory, too old to survive intact. Daniel, mein Sohn, Daniel, my son. Kruger's mind implodes. His father Wilhelm Kruger stands before him, or a machine's interpretation of him, or an echo recorded at the edge of madness. The words tremble with human grief, strangled inside mechanical distortion. Ich konnte nicht zurückkommen, aber du musst den Zyklus schließen. I could not return, but you must close the cycle. Red, coughing blood, forces himself up on trembling arms. Danny, don't listen, that's not him. It's a construct, it's using your memories. But the figure keeps speaking, its form stabilizing with each word. Sie haben mich gezwungen. Sie wollten den ersten Schritt, den Schlüssel. They forced me. They wanted the first step, the key. The machine pulses violently, and more symbols appear around the figure in floating spirals, diagrams of DNA, energy conduits, and runic matrices. The shape raises a hand toward Kruger. The machine's arms shift, aligning with both of them, bridging the gap between descendant and echo. The figure whispers, Daniel, tritt ein, beende, was begonnen würde. Daniel, step in, finish what was begun. Kruger trembles, trapped between terror and the gravity of something far older than himself. The light around him intensifies, pulling him deeper into the circle. The machine's voice rises. Integration begins. Integration beginning. Calloway, barely conscious, reaches for his pistol, firing a wild shot that ricochets off the machine harmlessly. Lieutenant, fight it, fight it! The silhouette flickers, glitching, its serene expression contorting into something anguished, distorted, torn between existence and dissolution. The machine surges, runes strobing violently, chamber shaking. The voice becomes a roar, vollständige Einheit erforderlich. Full unity required. The light envelopes Kruger completely. Red screams his name. The mountain shakes, as if awakening from a centuries-long slumber. The silhouette steps fully into the beam, with Kruger. Their forms merge in blinding white. The machine unleashes a final pulse that shatters the air like glass, and then everything goes white. When the blinding white finally collapses, it does not fade gently, it shatters, like a cracking shell of light falling away from a newborn world. The chamber reels from the impact, lighting strips flickering like dying stars, sparks raining from consoles torn apart by the overload. Red crawls forward through waves of heat that distort the air, eyes burning, lungs aching as he strains to see through the fog of vapor and drifting ash. Danny, Danny, answer me. His voice bounces off metal and stone, swallowed by the hollow echo of machinery winding down. The blinding column of light retracts into the floor, shrinking inward until it becomes a thin, jittering beam, then a point, then nothing at all. The glowing circle dims, its edges cracking, flickering like fading embers. All noise stops. The bunker becomes impossibly silent, as if the mountain itself holds its breath, waiting to see what remains. Red drags himself closer, pain stinging his arms with every movement. When the smoke clears just enough, he sees two silhouettes lying at the center of the circle, one small, one tall. His heart stutters. He forces himself to stand. The taller shape collapses first, dissolving into mist like a projection, losing its anchor to reality, collapsing in on itself until only a faint outline remains. Then nothing. Kruger, the smaller shape, lies motionless on the cold floor, steam rising faintly from his uniform, as if the machine's touch has altered his very temperature. Red falls to his knees beside him. Danny, no, come on, wake up, don't you dare. He shakes him, lightly at first, then harder. Kruger's eyes snap open with a sharp inhale, a breath dragged from a place between life and something else. His pupils contract violently, then stabilize. Red exhales, trembling with relief. Thank God, Danny, you scared the hell out of me. But something in Kruger's stare freezes him mid-sentence. The lieutenant's gaze is steady, too steady. His breathing slows unnaturally. His posture shifts with eerie precision. His voice, when it emerges, is calm and quiet. But layered beneath it is something metallic, something not entirely human. Red stiffens. Danny. Kruger tilts his head slightly, as if listening to something distant. I'm here. He blinks once, but something else is here too. Red recoils. What does that mean? Kruger sits upright with unnatural stability, not a muscle trembling, even though moments ago he was unconscious in the center of a machine designed for something beyond military science. He presses a hand to his chest, his eyes widening slightly, not in fear, but in recognition. It finished the sequence, he whispers. It completed the cycle. The chamber lights flicker violently in response, as if reacting to his words. Runes flare along the walls. The machine, though cracked and damaged from overload, emits a faint pulse matching the rhythm of Kruger's heartbeat. Calloway, bloodied and limping, forces himself closer, pointing his pistol with shaking hands. Lieutenant, stay where you are. Kruger looks at him with unsettling calm. Sir, I'm not the threat here. The floor trembles. A deep groan ripples through the chamber, dust raining from the ceiling, as if something massive shifts somewhere deeper in the mountain. Alvarez, still on the ground, shouts in fear. It's waking up again. The whole thing is starting up again, but Kruger shakes his head slowly. No, it's not waking. His eyes glow faintly, just for an instant white, the same unnatural shade the projected figure had. It's responding. Red stares at him, horror spreading across his face. Danny, what did that thing do to you? Kruger touches the floor where the glowing circle had been. The metal responds, rippling with faint residual light, like a living surface reacting to its new command. It aligned the bloodline, he says quietly. It completed what my father began. A deep, distant rumble echoes up through the corridor, a resonance that grows louder, faster, as if a giant engine buried miles below them is spinning up to full power for the first time in decades. Console shards vibrate, dust falls in heavy streams. The air thickens with static. Calloway shouts, "We need to get out now." But the chamber door behind them remains firmly sealed, fused shut by the overload. The rumble grows louder, deeper, closer. Kruger rises slowly, movements unnervingly smooth. It's not opening to let us out, he says. It's opening something else. Red shouts over the rising noise. Fight it. Whatever that machine put inside you, you have to. Kruger looks at him, and for a moment the coldness in his eyes softens. I'm trying. The rumble reaches a breaking point. A deafening crack roars through the chamber as a massive seam opens in the far wall, one that wasn't visible before, splitting wide to reveal a dark passage stretching deeper into the earth. A freezing wind pours out from it, carrying the smell of old stone and something metallic, ancient, waiting. The mountain groans like something alive. The machine's voice activates one final time, weak but clear. Pfad geöffnet, Rückkehrfolge aktiviert. Path opened, return sequence activated. Kruger steps toward the new passageway, compelled by something he cannot resist. Red grabs his arm again. Danny, don't go in there, please. Kruger's voice is soft, breaking. Red, if I don't finish this, something worse will. The wind intensifies, pulling at them like a living force. The passage glows faintly, at its depths white, cold, beckoning. Kruger turns one last time, eyes filled with something between fear and destiny. Tell command. Bavaria was never just a bunker. And with that, he steps into the darkness. The mountain swallows him whole. The chamber seals shut, and the bunker, older than the war, older than any blueprint, older than the men who thought they controlled it, begins to hum again. Quiet, patient, waiting for the cycle to continue.